Hey y'all, Chuck Nunface here. I want to do a quick video on this guy right here. This is the Shirogorov 111 Gen 5. The Shirogorov 111 Gen 5, this is the new one in purple carbon fiber. So they recently released the latest generation. It's got a couple of changes from the Gen 4. These are available typically only from Recon 1 in the United States, at least if you want to get a new one. On the secondary, they can be found all over the place, whether it's Instagram or Arizona Custom Knives or any place like that. But really, the only place to get Shirogorovs in the States, generally speaking, or in any sort of quantity right now is through Recon 1. Knife Center gets them sometimes in limited quantities, and even have their own exclusive that come out with their color scheme and everything else. But for the most part, the exclusive U.S. supplier for Shirogorov is going to be Recon 1. I mean, you can get them other places too, Rust Blade and things like that, but really, unless you're looking for a model that's out of stock or something like that, it's probably just best to go through Recon 1, and they do a great job. They package really well, they're very responsive and everything else. So that being said, beautiful carbon fiber handle right there. It just pops out right away. So, I mean, purple is just one of those colors where it's either going to be, if it's done well, it looks great. And if it's not done well, it is, it's pretty gaudy. So, I mean, I had a few years back, I had a Hinderer XM18 with all purple. It was from DLT. It was an exclusive one for them. And so it was purple scale. Purple G10, purple anodized titanium hardware and lock side and everything else, and it was way too much, and I just couldn't deal with it. But this one I think is done very subtly. Hopefully it's coming through in the light here. But the back spacer and the pocket clip, beautifully milled TI pocket clip, and it just comes through in that carbon fiber so well. It's very subtle. It doesn't scream purple or anything like that. So. Real quick, just kind of go over some size comparisons. This is a big knife. There's no doubt about it. So right here up against the Spyderco Paramilitary 2, much longer than that one right there. We'll do another Spyderco right here. This is the Endura, which is already a pretty sizable knife, and it is much larger than the Endura as well. Put it down there, maybe kind of give it a little, well, it's kind of off camera right there, but you get the idea. Pretty sizable. So it's bigger than the Endura too. And let's see, something else that a lot of people may be able to relate to is the Chris Reeve Knives Sabenza 21. So it's a 3.5 inch blade. So yes, the Shirogorov 111 has a 111 millimeter blade. So that's 4.37 inches from tip to scale there. So not small at all, or I should say it's right about to there is the 4.37 inches or 111 millimeters. So that's the way Shirogorov does it. They do it in millimeters. Their F95 is 95 millimeters, or about 3.75 inches approximately. Maybe it's 3.87, something like that. But yeah, so that's how they do it there. So yeah, 4.37 inch blade, 9.75 inches overall. 3.5 millimeter thick blade stock, so nice and thin right there. That's a change from previous generations. So they shaved a little bit off the thickness of the blade. And coming in at 4.8 ounces, which is very, very light for the size. So the way they achieve that, they shave a little bit of weight off the previous generation. Okay, so the previous gen also in carbon, so spec the same with carbon fiber, pocket clip, and everything else. That would have come in around 5.36 ounces. So they shave almost a half ounce off on the new models. And so one of the ways they do that is by thinning out the blade. So the previous generation, I actually have my Gen 4 right there as well. So this is the outdoor edition. This has got G10, orange G10 and green G10, and as you'll notice, no pocket clip on that one. It just comes with a scout carry belt sheath, and it actually works out really well. So something that might kind of annoy some people. I thought it was going to annoy me as well, but I ended up getting a pocket slip for as well from Cedar Grove leather, and I really enjoy carrying this one too. But I digress. It's a little hard to maybe show on camera, but right there is the blade stock. I mean, you're not really going to be able to tell that much But while I'm kind of doing it this way, you'll be able to see some differences in the blade as well. So this one on the 111, it does not have any sort of jimping on the spine. Some do. This one does not, but they'll have a much smaller jimping. And this has more of a geared jimping, similar to what's going on in the back spacer. So they both kind of have that plunging back spacer, where it just kind of dives down right there and right there. But as you can see, the milling's a little different. And that is across the line different on both generations right there. So the jimping on the pocket clip is a little bit different as well. Or not the pocket clip, I should say, the flipper tab. So that's been changed a little bit as well. This is a little more defined. And actually the flipper tab itself has been milled out. So they're saving weight there too. Another weight savings is the pierced fuller right there that the Gen 5 has. Now, some of the Gen 4s do have a fuller, but it is not pierced like this. This Gen 4, or this Gen 5 rather, they're shaving off a little bit more weight right there. So they're just taking off weight incrementally, making it a little bit lighter. Both generations have the tab lock. So essentially you've got your steel lock bar insert on the titanium tab lock. It's nestled into the scales there, as I think you should be able to see. And same with this one right here. Okay. So the this here is pretty clearly running on bearings, very smooth action. This is their multi-row bearing system. So they have several different tiers, and it says right there inside the tab, multi-row bearing system, MRBS. They have several different tiers where they'll do single row bearing system, or SRBS. They'll do multi-roll bearing system. They'll do roller system, double roller system. They've got a whole bunch. They kind of step up through their divisions, their custom divisions, and everything else. So this is running on the multi-row bearing system. So if you take these apart, and it is proprietary hardware, which is kind of a pain to navigate your way through without damaging the pivot screw and the screws right there. They do sell tools, bit drivers and bits for them, but they're quite pricey just for tools. I mean, you can go in there with a coin, maybe put some masking tape around the coin and go through it that way, or do kind of the same with a screwdriver. I don't recommend it. You know, it's one of those things where kind of do that at your own risk, because you may end up marring the hardware and gouging it up, because your steel tools are going to be harder than the hardware itself. So kind of do that at your own risk. But yeah, when you take them apart, it's a little daunting at first because the bearings are loose. I'm not going to do it in this video, but the bearings are all loose. So you got to kind of be very careful. And when you're putting them back in, it's really not that hard. There's a couple of videos out there on how to do it, but you got to use tweezers and kind of put them back in one by one. So all in all, it's not that bad, but just be prepared if you ever open one of these up. That's what you're going to have to do. Let's see here. So another big change between the previous generations is the actual blade shape itself. When I first saw the Gen 5 blade shape, I didn't think I was gonna I didn't really like it at all. I said, no, I like the stabby, the piercy, pointy nature of the previous generation. But as I saw it more in pictures and a couple of people that own them on Instagram, it started growing on me a little bit more. It's definitely got a lot more belly to it. So it's a long flat with belly, as opposed to this more severe drop point and coming to a more acute tip. But the shape of the blade really kind of grew on me. One of the things that Shirogorov is known for is the action. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Now, it does have that drop shut action that really, it's not something I seek when I'm looking for knives anymore. But the blade just really flies right open. You can deploy it either through light switch like that, or through a push button. It's going to open up either way quite easily. They really fly out. They've got a lot of kick to them. I mean, it's a big blade, so it's going to have a lot of kick as it comes right out. But the way they close is just, I mean, honestly, this could break in a little bit more. And truly, I've tightened down the pivot just a little bit more, because I like more of a slower hydraulic drop to the action as opposed to a guillotine drop. I mean, you can definitely loosen the tension on that pivot and have it drop much more freely, and still not have any sort of blade play, even when you release the tension on the lock bar. I mean, clearly there's none right now, but I like it to be just a little bit more controlled. It's still extremely, extremely smooth. You know, generally speaking, I prefer a good PB washer action to bearings. But if you're gonna do a bearing flipper, nobody does it better than Shirogorov. I mean, they're just the absolute cream of the crop. It's as good as it gets. Any sort of descriptive terms that you want to use, you can definitely apply. I mean, if you say that, a lot of times they'll say Shirogorov is the Chris Reeve knives of flippers. You can easily make that if that's the type of distinction you want to make or the type of comparison you want to make. In any case, I am pretty much going to wrap it up now. Don't want to have this video running for too long here, but go ahead and shoot me any questions in the comments or just leave me a message. Go ahead and like and subscribe and leave comments. I always appreciate that. It helps generate traffic for the channel. Definitely something I want to keep doing. So let me know what you would like to see. Go ahead and give me a follow on Instagram as well, at Chuck_Nunface. And let's keep this going. And thanks a lot.